The Emmys are tonight, which I don't know. This probably won't be the cold open. Doesn't have to be.
We could pick a.
I couldn't find a stream of it.
I couldn't either. It was even hard. Like when you mentioned it last week. I was like trying to look up like when it was or whatever, and I couldn't. Couldn't find like fucking anything.
Well, I think Google is just kind of fundamentally broken, and I don't mean that in they're trying to suppress what you can and can't see, but kind of. Like I feel like I tried to Google like Emmys online streaming free, and I want to say the first 15 or 20 results were all just like articles by USA Today, Variety, and it's just like by the time you actually like there's no place on the internet to find illicit links to watch televised content for free, kind of like we did with the Oscars last year. Like we were like switching from like bootleg source to bootleg source, allegedly. But like it's crazy. I couldn't find anything, and then any website I did find kept redirecting me to like download some bullshit VPN that probably would have installed like malware or whatever. Yeah. So not watching it, unfortunately. It's on Fox, but the only way to watch it on Fox is through the Hulu Plus live TV version. Mm-hmm. So
I know every time it gets back to Oscars time, I'm like, okay, what channel is that on? Okay, what do you need? What streaming services do you need for that? And it's all the ones that are like $60 a month.
Yeah, last year I did Fubo TV, and I forgot it. I thought it was like a 2-day free trial, and it was like a 48-hour free trial, and I missed the window on canceling. Oh, it was something like that. I thought no. I thought it was a 7-day free trial, and it was 48 hours. Okay, that's what it was. Okay. And so I was like, oh, I have till Friday to cancel it, and then I saw a charge for like $80, and I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, watching like these live streams is a lot like taxes for me, where every year I just get dicked down by TurboTax, and I'm like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not going through TurboTax ever again. They're hucksters, they're frauds. It's bullshit. I shouldn't have to pay to do my taxes. And then April rolls around, and I'm like, Mom, what's the TurboTax login? Like, God damn it, I'm doing it, I guess.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. That's a pretty apt analogy, I think, or comparison. But I mean, yeah, we did last year, mostly more or less worked, but
yeah, I wish we didn't have to.
Yeah, I know. I really wish, like, make pay-per-view a thing again. Like, just make it like,
I'd pay $2.99.
Yeah. Like, I'd pay like $10. Sure, just for the Oscars. Sure. It's like, yeah, I'm going to have an Oscar party. Everybody, chip in or like bring a drink or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll pay for the Oscars,
Yeah, I don't want to have to whittle down my list of like streaming services that I do a 7-day free trial of. Because like eventually I'm going to run out of them.
You got to hope that by that time there's more. There will be more. I have like a list of like 6. Okay, so in 6 years there'll probably be like maybe a couple more streaming services out. Some other bullshit generic name.
Or maybe the ones that we started out on the free trial with have like morphed out into like Hulu Premium plus live TV plus sports.
Yeah. It as long as you are very like diligent on it, it probably could be a good source. But you just got to make sure you don't slip up or anything.
Yeah, it's like Catch Me If You Can. We're like the Frank Abagnales of streaming services, where we just kind of move from service to service and don't stick around for too long. Or maybe it's more like Heat. It's like when that heat comes, you got to be able to just turn around and leave it all behind.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know what
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to There Will Be Duds. This is episode 134, and I'm your co-host, TJ. And with me, as always,
I am Nick.
And as always, we watched a movie. That movie being The Treasure of the Sierra Madre from 1948, directed by John Huston. It follows a couple of roughnecks, some kind of down and out guys living in like Southern California, trying to make a buck any way they can. When they kind of fall in with this older prospector man who tells them about, hey, panning for gold, that's a great way to make money. So they're like, all right, let's give it a shot. And they do, and they strike gold, and then paranoia sets in, and there's a lot of mistrust, attempted or believed backstabbing, as well as other various characters kind of coming in and throwing more wrenches into the whole operation. Yeah, what is that's it. So that's the description. I had not seen this one before, but
Okay.
I knew it was just one of those that you hear every now and then when you're looking at like.
This is my
the
first
lineup
Humphrey Bogart movie.
I was wondering, because I know you said you hadn't seen Casablanca. So something I actually thought would be an interesting thing to talk about, knowing that you haven't seen anything with him. I've seen a few things. Like, this is maybe my like fourth or fifth movie I've seen of his.
Okay.
And everything I've seen of him prior to this, he's and just kind of knowing his status in Hollywood or whatever, he's very like kind of standard leading man, old school Hollywood, like, I'm the good guy, I'm the protagonist, I'm Humphrey Bogart, I might be
That's what I thought going into this.
Oh, okay, so you did think that too. So, okay, I was wondering, because, I mean, that's, Casablanca is his most well-known role.
Yeah.
A lot of, like, the other ones that I've seen with him, like The Maltese Falcon, what was the other one? Key Largo and The Big Sleep, I think, are the other ones of his I've seen. And at least as far as I remember, they're all kind of follow that same sort of, like, noir vibes. So he's like the protagonist, but maybe he's a little like untrustworthy, or he has some kind of like
he's
secrets.
Unconventional in his style. He's not afraid to get a little dirty sometimes, or be a little blue, or he's not like your bright-eyed and bushy-tailed like do-gooder.
Yeah, no Jimmy Stewart, he's
yeah.
And so that made this an interesting watch for me, where I just assumed, oh yeah, he's like peddling for cash at the beginning. I'm like, okay, this is, he's got his little, like, his dark side, or like his kind of shady nature, what have you, but he's the protagonist, right? He's the guy on the poster. Top billed. It's Humphrey Bogart. And then seeing him turn into a villain was interesting. It was
that's why I was so like weirded out, because to me he seemed like one of those guys who I don't know, kind of like The Rock, where like I figured that would be like part of his thing, where it's like I play good guys. Like, I thought that was like his whole deal. And then to see him kind of become the heel of the group was very, very, and I was waiting for the redemption arc, and it didn't come. It straight up did not come. Did you read about the edited scene at the end? Where apparently, and this is, I feel like I always do this. I feel like I always skip right to the end, like really early on in the episode. But in the end, when Humphrey Bogart, like, when he finally gets caught up by like Gold Hat and the gang, I guess his death was supposed to be much more graphic. He's supposed to get his head cut off. Like, they were supposed
to show it. Oh shit! Okay.
They were supposed to show him getting his, because because there's like a few scenes where like, you know, people kind of get shot and they fall down, but they're still alive. Like, I don't know, plot armor if you want to call it that, because Curtin gets shot and I'm like
twice,
I'm like
apparently.
whoa, is he done? Like, are they just gonna kill him off like that? And
I
you know,
thought
he comes back, but yeah, on the Wikipedia here it says I guess it's based on the book. Like the death scene, the original death scene was like more graphic in the book.
Blood Meridian.
Yeah, I did think of Blood Meridian. When Goldhat strikes Dobbs with his machete, Dobbs is decapitated. Huston shot Dobbs fake, so they did shoot his fake head rolling into the water hole. A quick shot of Goldhat's accomplices reacting to Dobbs' rolling head remains in the film, and in the next shot, one can see the water rippling where it rolled in. But it was a censors thing from 1948, so they didn't allow him. To which Bogart's reaction was, "What's wrong with showing a guy getting his head cut off?" So Humphrey Bogart was all for it. He didn't give a shit. He was awesome. Like, "Hell yeah, dude, show it."
That's sick.
But yeah, I was waiting for his redemption arc, because at the beginning, I kept clocking these little things about him, where at the beginning he's like, you know, it's like, Can you spare a cent for an American? Or like he kind of has his like little canned line where he's begging, and I love that he hits the same dude up 3 times, and he says something like, "Oh, I wasn't even looking at you, sir. I was just looking at," and I'm like,
at the money.
Is he lying? Like, because at first I thought maybe it was an honest mistake, but like as the movie goes on and you learn more about him, it's like it easily could have been. He got money from this guy once. He's just gonna keep going until the well dries up, which I guess is a metaphor for his entire life in this movie.
Yeah. But
I kept waiting for like any sort of redemption arc. Like he learns something, and he doesn't, and he's a hypocrite the entire time. Where like the first guy that like, you know, kind of sets them up to like, okay, we're gonna go work on this oil rig, and then you'll get paid. There's like, what are you gonna do with money here except for gamble it and drink it away? You got no money to spend here. Just wait till we get back, and then I'll go to the bank, and then I'll get you guys all paid. And then the dude disappears. And I'm pretty sure a later scene, he literally says the exact same thing to. Does he say it to Cody,
more or less,
or does he say it to like Curtin and Howard? I feel like he says like. No, it's when Howard goes back with like the natives after he saves the boy, and then he's like, yeah, we'll meet you in Durango, no problem. You know, we'll be a couple hours ahead.
That's it.
And it's like, that's exactly what like the Pat McKenzie guy said to you guys when he was scamming you.
And I think the next time you see Howard, he's just like chilling in their village. And
Howard is living his best life.
Yeah, dude. Like nothing like hurts this dude. Nothing hinders him in any way. He's just like, he rolls with everything, and he's like, everything more or less just works out for him no matter what.
Yeah.
But anyways, I feel like that I kind of think that in the interim between the scenes where you see him last, he probably knew that they were lying to him. He's like, they're bullshitting me, because he knows, because he's got his wits about him. So he's like, all right, I'm just gonna, you know, I got this pretty sweet setup here, I'm just gonna hang out here. And that is more or less what he does. But I'll tell you how I retrospectively, when the movie ended, I was thinking back on the panhandling at the beginning, and him saying like, oh, I didn't see your face, sir, I was just looking at the money. And I think he was saying that, and I think that's more, or I think he was being truthful. I don't think he was deceiving him, and I think that's more just as like a foreshadowing or whatever you want to say, to show that's his character. That's all he cares about. He doesn't see people, he sees money. Like that's the primary thing for him. So
yeah, I think he sees money, and then he sees people as the stepping stone to get to that money.
Yeah, exactly. And then so when, you know, they get their money, and then he starts kind of like, I don't know like where it really first starts. Well, I think actually it's Howard originally, like before they even say that they want to go prospecting, he's the one who's like, oh yeah, you know what happens when you get a lot of money is people start turning on each other and blah 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 and all this. But then they go, he's like, yeah, sure, I'll go with you guys.
Yeah.
But it's like that little bug that he put in, mainly just in Humphrey Bogart's head, just kind of keeps eating at him through the whole movie. And he, I was, again, because I was thinking that, you know, Humphrey Bogart's got to be the protagonist, that I was like, okay, yeah, so he's right, you know, he should be suspicious of them, and they are gonna betray him, and you know they're gonna be untrustworthy. But then, like you said, there was no redemption, there was no turnaround. It was like mostly just him being untrustworthy. Like the other guys seemed more or less like upstanding. You know, I never doubted Howard for a second. I believe that he was all just like, you know, I'll take my share. Like I never thought he was gonna betray him, but I was like, okay, maybe Curtin will, maybe this new guy Cody, you know. But it really was just Humphrey Bogart. He
ruined the entire thing for everybody.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch the Howard and Curtin show. I would watch like a limited series of those two guys just getting into shit, because Howard is such a fun character. I love all of his little aphorisms and metaphors. He has a certain cadence to the way that he talks, where it's like he's kind of got something to say for everything that you have to say. He's got well, you know, son, but he's got like a thing to say right back to you, like these canned responses, like every time.
Finally, you say, Lord, let me just find $5,000 worth, and never ask for anything more the rest of my life.
$5,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, here in this joint seems like a lot, but I tell you, if it was to make a real strike, you couldn't be dragged away. Not even the threat of miserable death would keep you from trying to add 10,000 more. 10, you'd want to get 25, 25, you want to get 50, 50, 100, like roulette. One more turn, you know, always one more.
Yeah. And it's like, that's why Howard is like so cool and collected for all of this. Like, there's nothing really you can throw at him that he hasn't experienced, because that opening scene with them in like the slum, or like the shitty little hotel where like the poor people all hang out.
Yeah.
He's like telling the story about like gold prospecting, and they're like, oh, well, if you're a gold prospector, how did you end up here? And he's like, I've seen it all, you know, I've made a bunch of money and then I spent it all, and I've, you know, highs and lows. He's been there. So it's like he knows like the nature of man pretty much like the back of his hand.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, he's not surprised by Dobbs being like a greedy piece of shit, because he's probably worked with like plenty of dudes exactly like that. And I love that, you know, when Howard is telling the story about the prospecting, I think even Dobbs says something like, it's like, well, $5,000 to a man in here is a lot of money. I would take 5,000 and leave. And then, of course, later on, he's like, well, I'm not getting out of here till at least, you know, 35,000. 50 would be nice. 75 would be great. And he just keeps escalating it. And it's like literally every single like negative example that's brought up about what a person can be like, Dobbs eventually like takes on that attribute.
There's another thing early on that I hadn't thought about again until just now, that also like seemed to be setting up, and maybe that was it. Maybe I don't know. I wonder if this was intentional, the whole like casting Humphrey Bogart as this character. Like I wonder if people at the time, like that was like an intentional choice by Huston, or you know, by whoever, to like kind of as like a sort of twist thing to be, Bogart's actually the bad guy, because early on he says like, oh, you know, if like maybe that same scene where it's like, I would just take that money, you know, why go for anything more. And then when they see McCormick or whatever the guy's name is in the bar, and they beat the shit out of him, and he's like, he like takes his wallet out and he's like counting, and he's like 300. He's like checks with Curtin. He's like, that's how much he owes us, right? And he's like, yep. And he gives him the rest of his money.
I did notice. Yes.
And that happened, and I actually was like, okay, all right. So he's true to his word, right? So I thought that was setting him out to be like the moral yeah, I'm the good guy. I
It's all downhill from that moment on.
I don't know. I don't know why he. Because in retrospect, I'm like, well, following his character after that, I feel like he would have just taken everything. But I don't know. He doesn't there.
I think it's a slow descent into, like, once he actually gets out there and like is panning for the gold. Like, I think it's just a slow descent into madness, essentially.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he does. Yeah, he goes like he loses it. Like near the end when you see him like wide-eyed, like his like wiry hair up and stuff. And, like, yeah.
Every solution he's just like, yeah, you want me to go, like, you want me to follow you so you can.
Yeah.
What I don't even know what he said. Is like, yeah, you want me to follow so you can leave me in the dust. He's like, all right, I'll lead.
So you can ambush me from the front. And he's like, okay,
that's right.
Then you lead. And he's like, oh, so you can shoot me in the back, huh?
Yeah. And Curtin is just like so sick of his shit. Just like, oh, okay, whatever, dude.
Wouldn't it be better the way things are to separate tomorrow, or even tonight?
That would suit you fine, wouldn't it?
Why me more than you?
So you could fall on me from behind, sneak up and shoot me in the back.
All right, I'll go first.
And wait for me on the trail, ambush me?
Why wouldn't I do it right here and now if I meant to kill you?
I'll tell you why. Because you're yellow. You haven't got nerve enough to pull the trigger while I'm looking you straight in the eye.
Yeah, I really like the character of Curtin. There were like a few really good moments with him with the Gila monster and like that was like their first test of like his paranoia. And you almost feel like Dobbs is going to learn something when they lift up the rock and they do actually see the Gila monster. And I feel like there's a look in his eyes, like, of realization, of like almost embarrassment, where he's like, oh no, you guys weren't. He assumes that everybody is like him. And he assumes that if I'm this paranoid about it, these two guys have to be just as paranoid. And they're like, no, dude, there's a poisonous lizard under this rock. Like, I'm not searching for your hidden stash of gold.
Yeah. Although, in that instance, I could see being paranoid, like, as paranoid as him, because, like, what are the chances that, like, out of all the fucking rocks in this desert,
he finds the one?
Yeah, the one that the Gila monster decided to crawl under.
Yeah.
So in that instance, I think it's fair for him to be paranoid about that. But then when they flip it over and he's like, and then I think he gets up and then Curtin like takes his gun from him, and I think it was just kind of to defuse the situation. He takes it from him. But I thought when he took the gun, I was like, okay, this is the turn, right? This is where both of them reveal their true colors, and Humphrey Bogart's going to get out of this bad situation, right? But then, no, they give it back. I'm like, wait, what? What?
Yeah, okay. So looking at my notes here, I think the first thing that I even noticed about like Dobbs' character being slightly dubious was like you see this extended scene at the beginning with him like basically begging for money to get like a haircut, to get like a sandwich or whatever, cigarettes. And then he goes and he sits at the bar and this kid comes in like with lotto tickets and he calls the kid a beggar. And I was like, oh, you mean that shit you were just doing? Yeah. Also, did you clock who that kid was?
Alfred Molina. I don't know.
It was Robert Blake.
Is it really?
That was Robert Blake.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Because like I looked it up later and I saw him credited and I was like, oh, that's weird. He was born in 1933, so this movie came out in 48.
Is this 15? I guess maybe that makes sense. He seemed a little younger than that to me.
He did seem young. But yeah, it's Robert Blake.
Wow.
I think this might be his first film ever.
Okay. Crazy.
But yeah, that blew my mind.
Huh. Yeah, speaking of that kid, there's a part where he shows up later in the movie and he's like, when he's talking, it's when they like get the money that like they use to to go
Yeah.
prospecting or whatever. And he's like, oh, if you he's like, yeah, make sure you. I couldn't really tell what he was, but he was like giving out the lotto numbers, and he like wanted. He's like saying invest or something. I didn't really get what he was saying, but anyways, he's like, oh yeah, if you don't put in, you'll have bad luck for a whole year. And it just made me think of like, maybe because I caught one of these that like my grandma reposted today when I was checking Facebook of like all those posts online where I remember when I was younger, you'd go on message boards and it would be like scary shit, like on like GameFAQs or something. It'd be like, oh, now that you've read this, if you don't repost within 24 hours, your mom will die or something like that.
Someone will come into your room in the middle of the night with a knife and kill you if you don't send this to 15 of your friends.
Yeah, exactly. And that was what like came into my mind when
And what's funny about those posts is like none of those had anything to sell. It wasn't like, because usually you would think that there'd be like some marketing, like, you know, you have to send this product, send this, you know, these shoes or knock off AirPods to 15 of your friends or you'll die. Those existed just to scare people. Like you didn't want to think about your mom dying, so you got to forward it to 15 of your friends. That was it.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg, I do not give you permission to use my photos. I'm posting this on my wall.
Shit. Yeah.
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 Or like, if you do this, it'll clear the ads out. Like, oh, you can finally see your friends' posts again. If you do this one little trick, copy and paste. Oh, there's everybody. Yeah, I got some people that still do that shit.
Yeah. That was back in the day, like the cool day of the internet, where like people didn't do malicious stuff like that to like sell things or like spread a virus or whatever. It's just because they were just bad people, you know, or like they liked fucking with people.
Yeah. And you're telling me Sonic the Hedgehog is in Super Smash Bros. Melee?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of missed that time.
Yeah,
where
for
people
sure.
could just be dicks, purely just to be dicks.
For fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss the meaner internet.
Yeah. Also kind of going back to the begging scene and later, trying to see that was the other example I had. So I had two that I wrote down, but there was more. It was just something I didn't write down until the end when the one happened. But like cool like transitions, cool like editing moments. Like I really like when he gets the first peso from the wealthy man at the beginning. It like pans down to his hand, and you see the coin sitting in his hand, and then the screen fades to his hand in the same position holding a cigarette. And it's like, when he was just saying like, oh, spare some money for somebody who needs a meal or whatever, like saying I'm going to use this to get food for myself. Yeah. And then you see, I thought that was a really like simple, clever way to, okay, this guy is
he's kind of a huckster.
Yeah. And then the one later on is pretty close to the end, where after he shoots Curtin, he's laying off to the side or whatever, and then it's just kind of showing his like madness. He like finally lays down after he's like, oh, what if he does this? What if he does this? He like lays down in like, and there's the fire like in the foreground, like in front of him. And then it starts like getting bigger and bigger, and then it fades into this I think it's maybe Gold Hat, or I don't remember where it goes to after that, but there's like this smoking pile of material, and for a second when it was fading, it's like round, like it's in the shape of like a head, and I was like, did he just burn to death? I legitimately thought that like
it did look like it engulfed him in flames.
Yeah. I was like, is that what's gonna happen here? Because I was like, I wouldn't just want like, and he had that torch, like the torch that he used to go look for him. It was kind of like off to the side, and he's in a desert where it's really dry. And
yeah.
I was thinking like right before that happened that like, oh man, that's a fire hazard that could go bad. And then that happened. I was like, oh, is this happening?
It's going bad.
But then it didn't, and I was like, oh yeah, they wouldn't just kill Humphrey Bogart off like that. And then like 5 minutes later, they do, just very abruptly. And like even though they don't show the actual like head getting cut off, like you said, I thought for like a 1948 movie that felt very brutal. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, because that's what I was like. Because everyone, like I said, everyone else kind of had plot armor where like, you know, they would get hurt, but they would bounce back. Mm-hmm. And then like the way that he hits him with the yeah, that's true. The way that he hits him with the machete, I'm like, that's less believable. If Dobbs gets up from that, I would actually be very surprised. I was like, the angle that he hit him with that machete, that looked like lethal. A lethal like amount of machete.
The torso.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say after the first one, I was like, oh, they dinged him up, but he's going to get back up because it's Humphrey Bogart. He's not just going to die like this. And then they swing again, and I was like, okay, maybe not. maybe he's just dead.
Oh, speaking of Gold Hat, that was the Jeopardy clue last week. Was the I don't gotta show you no stinking badges.
Oh yeah.
That was a Jeopardy clue, and I was like,
really?
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, that's the movie we're doing this week. It was really, really serendipitous. Very strange.
That's so funny.
So I was waiting for that line to happen.
I did know that line. I'd heard that.
Yeah.
If you're the police, where are your badges?
Badges? We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Better not come any closer.
The train ride too.
I was just thinking of that. I almost just
for a second I was like, is everybody just packing heat constantly in this? Because it's like as soon as they see like the bandits like riding horses, they all spring into action with their guns and they just start shooting them like from the train. And then I see everyone else was cowering, so I was like, oh, okay. But for a second, I just assumed that everyone on the train was just like, oh, this is the part of the ride where the bandits come, and everybody just pulls out their piece and like starts shooting at them.
And then the conductor or ticket, one of the guys who works on the train or whatever, like comes in right after, and they're still kind of like checking their guns after the bandits like ran away, and he doesn't like say anything to them, so it probably is just like. I wonder if it's a case of like, yeah, we on the one hand we wish you guys wouldn't have guns, but also like it's cool because otherwise we get robbed, you know. This is like a pro Second Amendment movie. I don't know. Yeah,
I feel like the conductor guy or like the ticket collector guy even says something along the lines of like, oh, not too many fatalities either. Like there were fatalities, but he's like, it's less than last time.
Yeah. And their Dobbs and Curtin are like comparing their very like, I mean, maybe think of like Legolas and Gimli, like, oh, how many did you get?
yeah. Oh, I got that. Oh, you see that guy tumble off that horse?
Yeah, and then he's like, what is he? He's like, oh man, did you see that guy in the gold hat? I like, if I was just a little lower, I would have got him. Setting up Gold Hat later on, and that's why he's got the like hole in his hat or whatever.
Oh, that was so good when when near the end when he runs to the water and like just dumps his face in the water.
Yes,
this dirty ass pond. And then you see, I was like,
that was good.
The way that they had it angled, I was like, someone's gonna walk in to be in the reflection. Yeah. And like that shot of Gold Hat was so good when he like looks up and he's looking down and you see the two holes in his sombrero.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, your goose is cooked. This is the end of the road for you.
Yeah. Also, they do that in Lord of the Rings too. Where in Return of the King, where Gollum's talking to himself in the reflection like of the water. And he's like, we're gonna, take them up to Shelob's lair, and then they'll be dead. And he like drops the rocks in the water, and then like the water ripples, and then you see Sam behind him.
Oh,
and he like beats.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah,
that's really good. I'm looking at the IMDb trivia here, and I think I subconsciously had this thought. Maybe it was one of the shots where Humphrey Bogart is like a little more rugged on his face, like he's got more of a beard and he's wearing his hat. But apparently, Dobbs was cited by Steven Spielberg as the main inspiration for the character of Indiana Jones.
You know, going into this movie, I was like, not knowing basically fuck all about it. I was like, is this just like what little images I've seen of it? I wonder if this is going to be kind of like a fun little like pairing with that we did Raiders earlier.
Yeah,
like a few
yeah.
episodes ago. And kind of
Paranoid guys looking for gold, getting backstabbed.
Yeah.
Only this would be like if Indiana Jones was like everybody wanted to be his friend instead. Like I'd like to, like you watch Raiders, and I kind of like that viewing that it's actually all in his head. Like when he gets like sent into the pit of snakes by, I forget the name of the guy who's constantly like
Belloc.
betraying. Yeah. Belloc is just like, why does this dude hate me so much? I'm just trying to help him out. And like, you know, you see like what's actually happening, and Indy's just like, no, you're just gonna screw me over. I'll go into this pit of snakes. Screw you. Like it's all in his head. He's just being paranoid.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, I can kind of see that, but like the overall, like, I could see you saying that like this movie could be a big inspiration for it, but like Dobbs, I don't, you know,
his character, the way that his character
shittier.
acts. Yeah, I think it's got to be mostly in aesthetics, because like,
yeah,
you know, the hat and the beard and the sort of like rugged
For sure.
look. But yeah, like as a character, he's polar opposite of Indiana Jones. Some of these pictures of Howard, he looks like, and it's only because it's like recently something that I just watched, but some of those shots of Howard with his beard and his hat, he looks like the version of Beau from Beau is Afraid when he's like doing the play and he's like walking on like the gold brick road or whatever, and he's kind of got the cowboy like farmer get up on. I'm like, holy shit, this is what he looks like that.
Yeah, so this is kind of funny. I kind of forgot about this, but I noticed at the beginning of the movie, or like the opening credits, there Walter Huston was one of the listed in the cast, and I was like, oh, is that like John Huston's brother or something? And so the guy, the rich guy that he panhandles from, I was like, that guy looks a lot like John Huston, but I was like, so is that him? Is that Walter Huston? Is he the rich guy? But then that guy kind of went away, and I was like, okay, it's probably not him. And then I realized like, oh, it's Howard. Howard is Walter Huston, so that's his dad. And then I just find out that the man in the white suit is John Huston. It's the director. It's himself.
That was
I was like, oh, that's why. Well, that's why it looked like him then, because it's him.
because it was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, I just went to his IMDb page separately just to kind of remind myself of, because he was also an actor too. He had a pretty, you know, healthy acting career as well as directing. But that just like didn't really occur to me that he would you know, that it would be him. I was just looking for Walter Huston. But apparently Humphrey Bogart directed that scene that he's in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of funny.
Yeah, there's a really good quote from Humphrey Bogart, because I think there was one of the quotes was like, Humphrey Bogart was like, if I'm gonna get upstaged by anybody, like Walter Huston is the guy to do it. Because I think everyone was just kind of like blown away by his performance, to the point where one of the other little trivia things said that I guess like one of the producers had to have John Huston ask him to tone it down. because like Humphrey Bogart is like the name that draws people in, and they're like Walter Huston is like he's kind of stealing the show a little bit.
I see.
But there's this great quote here. On seeing the depth of Walter Huston's performance, Humphrey Bogart famously said, "One Huston is bad enough, but two are murder."
That does sound like something that Humphrey Bogart would say.
Yeah, he seems like one of those guys that's got a lot of kind of like Walter or Howard, just got a lot of canned responses.
Yeah. Howard or Walter Huston. I think they all were like good. There was all like good characters. I will say at first, before I realized that he's the Walter Huston, so he would be a big character. Like the first time you see Howard, and he's just telling them about prospecting. I just thought he was just going to be like in that one scene. Like I thought he was just kind of like a side throwaway character. So I didn't like try too hard. But like I couldn't understand like anything he was saying at first. He like
I turned subtitles on because he's just
I thought about
kind of doing
that.
like crackpot old man stuff.
Yeah. And then when he comes back and they're like, yeah, we'll go prospecting with you. I was like, oh, this is the third build guy. This is the I better start getting used to his way of talking. And I did. I still couldn't understand 100%, but for the most part, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked the part. For the most part, this is just like a fun action adventure movie. But then there's the part where Cody dies and they read the letter from his wife, and I was like, I didn't like cry or anything, but I was like, I was not prepared for like an emotional and like poignant scene like that, like right in the middle of this. It was really affecting. I thought that was like a really just kind of out of the blue, but really well done scene, like the acting and everything. And and then of course he finishes the letter and Dobbs is just like, oh, that's too bad. Like
or I think there's like a picture of her and he's like, oh, she ain't half bad looking too.
Yeah, maybe
like,
that's it. Yeah.
Like cool. Yeah, real subtle there, Dobbs. And it's like because they were gonna kill him. They were gonna kill the Cody character until he like looked down the mountain and said, hey, here are the bandits. And then they kind of have this alliance that they have to work with him, and then he dies. So it's like they are still in a way, I guess, kind of responsible for his death. I mean, he came up there on his own accord. I don't know.
Yes and no.
But it's like it's kind of this thing where they read the letter and they probably had that moment where they're like, oh, we were gonna kill this guy. Like the blame kind of got shifted away from him to the bandits, but like they probably had that moment where they're like, oh, this guy has like a life outside of this and hopes and dreams and a family and children. And it's a surprisingly heavy moment. I feel like there's like another line though, where like I think they were talking about what they're going to do once they get all the gold refined. And I swear Dobbs is just like, yeah, I'm going to go to like wherever in Texas to find. And I'm like, cool. He's just like, I'm going to go bone that dead dude's wife.
No, I think no, I don't think he does. I think he's just
Curtin says it at the end.
He says
I think Howard Howard tells Curtin to go and like, hey, maybe you should instead of like giving her a letter, you should go tell her yourself. Kind of like But I swear to God, at one point in time, Dobbs does say something about like,
maybe he does.
I'm gonna head this way. It just seems so scummy that like he doesn't even think about the life that was snuffed out. All he's thinking about is like, oh, cool, I got some gold and maybe I can get some pussy too. Like, all right, cool, Dobbs.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be a different scene that I'm just thinking of the scene where they kind of go around and they're like, what are you gonna do with the money? What are you going to do with the money? And then they get to Dobbs and he's like, I'm going to go, buy a bunch of cigarettes. and then I'm gonna go to a restaurant and order everything and make them make it again. And they're like, and then what? And he's like, what else is there? you see that he does not have these bigger aspirations that the other guys do, because the others are like, I'm gonna buy a house and settle down or whatever.
Curtin has this really long, almost like soliloquy telling Howard about the best summer of his life when he was a kid,
right.
going to pick peaches. He's like, I think I'd like to be like very wholesome. Just like, I want to make a name for myself. Like I want to, and then I think even Howard was like, I'll open like a general store or like a hardware store or something. Like, these like sort of, aspirational, like using the money wisely to like make a comfortable life for yourself. And Dobbs, it just seems like, is constantly sprinting back to being like a poor beggar. Like he just, as soon as he gets money, he just wants to use it. Which again, I love that opening scene. The begging scene. I thought the visual gag was funny when he got like a haircut. Like he got a shave and a haircut, and he went to go put his hat on, and like the hat didn't fit because he wasn't used to his hair being like presented nicely.
Yeah.
It's a good visual gag.
I did get the feeling after a while that like, even if, no matter how much money Dobbs gets away with, whether he gets his share, whether he, tricks the other guys and gets everything, I was like, if he gets out of this alive, no matter what, he's going to be back on the street begging within like a few months, like for sure. Like he's gonna piss away all of that money because that's his person.
Like that easily could have been like, had he not been macheted, that could have been I feel like that would have been a perfect bookend. Starts out with him walking the streets.
That's what I
like
thought.
The first lines of the movie were just like, do you have can you spare for a hungry American meal? And it's like, that would have been the perfect. it's the guy in the white suit. Like Dobbs experiences like success and death and failure and all of these things, and at the end of the day, he comes back to the guy in the white suit and he's just like, I already told you once, I'm not giving you another peso.
Yep. I 100%. I was like expecting that. But
the actual ending is far like insane and dark, and I guess kind of uplifting, really depending on your perspective. Where when the Mexican bandits like just took the bags of gold and dumped it out, and like we're just stomping on it.
Yeah, dude. When they,
oh no,
when he just like, it's so nonchalant. There's no like close up. There's no like hesitation. He just like checks the bag, dumps it out. I actually went like, oh. I was like, oh no.
It's like, what's this shit?
It was very like the ending of The Killing, when all the money, the cash like dumps out of the briefcase. I was
trying to think of what that ending reminded me of. Okay. That is what it is. It's the ending of The Killing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you could say dark, and then they get killed by firing squad. I wasn't necessarily expecting that scene earlier on to get a payoff like that, like where he's talking about, they're very efficient in how they handle their criminals.
They dig their own graves.
Yeah. But no, I thought in the end it was a pretty happy, positive ending. That like, I like that they're able to kind of, I don't know, I loved when they're just kind of laughing, and he's like,
This is worth 10 months of suffering and labor, this joke is.
and then Curtin starts laughing, and then they're like, oh, what are you gonna do after this? And like you said, like, you want to see the show with those two. That conversation there, I'm like, yes, this is the setup for the future TV show with Curtin and Howard.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of like, they ride off into their, they instantly
sunsets.
Yeah, they instantly split up. They're just like, okay, see you later. I'm like, oh no, you guys could like hang out for a little
Like,
bit.
no,
You guys-
it's like, what do you go get a drink? Come on.
Yeah.
I think that's all of my notes. Oh, did you know that I guess like they originally wanted Ronald Reagan to be Cody? That was something that I saw on the trivia, or maybe it was on the Wikipedia, but yeah. I feel like Cody would have been a less sympathetic character maybe if he had been played by the old Gipper.
Yeah.
I've got a wife down in Texas way. I don't think I've ever seen a Ronald Reagan movie.
I was just
Was he in
thinking of
that many?
I don't think. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was like a decently big movie star, but I don't think he was like the biggest. I have to check. That's
He
funny that,
was
like his IMDb
such a dickhead.
His IMDb picture is just his presidential portrait, which is kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, his known for, like, his top 4 on IMDb are, I've never heard of any of them. Kings Row,
Okay.
This Is the Army, Sergeant Murphy, and The Killers. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
those are ones that I could see being like, they may have been like popular movies at the time, but nothing that really, stood the test of time. Obviously.
Yeah. Shit that's like on the TV when you go to your grandma's house or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of those dickheads who would like basically turn in any fellow actor who was a communist to like the House Un-American Activities. Real dickhead.
Yeah.
So I'm glad he didn't get cast in this movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that would add a weird shade to this.
Okay, who goes first?
You go first.
I go first. I think I landed on a 7. I liked it a pretty decent amount. It was very long. It was like 2 plus hours. I mean, I guess there were definitely some points where I felt like it dragged a little bit, but like the really iconic scenes I really liked, and I thought Humphrey Bogart, in my first Humphrey Bogart movie, I was surprised at how good he played kind of a shitty heel, paranoid bad guy. But all the main cast and the supporting cast were great. I want to see the Howard and Curtin show. Yeah, it was a fun time. I want to watch more John Huston movies because I'm always surprised by these old movies, seeing how good they look and how good the cinematography can be for like what limited technology. And they shot it all pretty much in location too. They shot it like, I don't know if it was actually at the Sierra Madre Mountains, but they shot it like in like Tampico and like Durango, and I think a lot of those places were actually shot there until the budget apparently got too big, and then they were they made them go back to because some of the stuff was definitely shot on soundstage. I think maybe some of the like the bonfire scenes, But I thought visually it was gorgeous. Everything about it was pretty good. Just a little long for me, I guess. So I ended up with a 7 on this one.
Yeah. That is weird that because I saw a thing saying that it was like shot like entirely outside the U.S. And I mean it still could be, but I checked on Google Maps. The Sierra Madre is like northeast of Los Angeles. I'm like, California was a state at the time, so I was kind of curious, like, because I was thinking, and it has vibes of like, this seems like it's either like a border town or it's in Mexico, but is I couldn't really tell if it was supposed to be there or if it was supposed to be California. I don't know.
Yeah.
I also landed on a 7. I thought it was a really good time. I think I would agree that it a little long in the tooth. I I don't know where, but I do feel like there could be a little bit trimmed out. Hit it down to like an hour 45 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's like the sweet spot. That'd be really good. Yeah, a lot of good characters, good performances. Really well. Despite the length and everything, I liked how many kind of twists and turns the story took. Like they get their treasure like really quickly. I'm like, okay, where
they found their gold. What do we do? Yeah.
Yeah, and for most of it, they're just kind of at their campsite, and it's just all the shit that they kind of run into on the way. And yeah, so it was just kind of interesting plotting.
Yeah.
Just where all the different kind of avenues it went down. Yeah, I also need to check out more John Huston. This is only the second movie of his that I've seen, so I think again second or third, somewhere in there. Yeah, it's good old classic adventure movie. So
yeah. Hell yeah.
Honestly, like the thing that I kind of consumed or whatever outside of the movie that I'm like most interested in talking about since we've talked about, and I'm sure at some point in the future we'll do an episode on the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'll pass on that. But I started watching like in sequence that you remember the My House walkthrough short,
yeah,
the horror short. I started watching that guy's Minecraft playthrough.
Okay, all right.
And I've never watched, like, I've never followed like a Minecraft like playthrough of like anybody, like a streamer or video series or whatever. And like I've never watched like a single like Dream video or anything like that.
Right.
And I feel like what he does, Piropito is that's what his channel name is, like Nana something else, but everything else I've seen he goes by Piropito, and that's what the Minecraft series is called. It's a blind playthrough, so he's specifically like he started it up, didn't know anything about the game. Every description in the video ends with a little tag that says like, please nothing in the no like spoilers in the comments.
Yeah,
I'm not reading any wikis or whatever. But I think this is like the kind of Minecraft Let's Play that like it's just it's the kind that I gel with. Like I like the very casual candid nature of it. It's really fun, like just watching him learn things, like how it takes him like 11, and I will say I'm on episode like 23 or 24, and so far,
my God.
Well,
okay.
so far they're like 8 minutes max.
Yeah,
they're very short. A lot of them are like less than 5 minutes.
Right.
The more recent ones are longer, but he only uploads like, before he was uploading basically daily, and now he uploads like a couple times a year, and they're like 40 minutes long. So the later episodes are longer. But these ones are pretty short, and it's like episode 11 when he learns how to use a crafting table. So, and it's like there's all these like milestones that are very fun to watch him realize, because like it's like episode 5 or 6 he makes a crafting table and he puts it down, and then he's like, what is this? What do I do with this? And he's like, I'm just gonna leave this here for now. And then he just like completely forgets about it for a while, and then he like finds a crafting table in a villager's house and like accidentally like clicks on it or something. He's like, oh, what? And then he like starts experimenting with it, and then like him learning the process of like enemies spawning at night, dying repeatedly to them, like how do I heal, how do I fight back, and like there's a part where he like makes a wooden sword, and he's like, this game is amazing. So it's very it's very simple, very chill, very slow paced. But I think that's the kind of the kind of Minecraft it's perfect for the game. Like it's a very chill game overall, and it's it kind of fits that vibe or whatever.
I think that's how I initially played Minecraft, like when it first came out all those years ago. Like I knew people that like knew how to play it, like, oh, you got to make a crafting table, and then you got to make this, and then you got to make this, and then you got to get this potion, and then you go to you make an ender portal. And I was like, I'm just making a stone pickaxe and a stone shovel, and like this is pretty fun. I'm building a cool base. Like that sort of like childlike wonder. Just like the idea of him like making a sword and being like, you can make swords in this. It's like, that sounds like a very like, because every every Minecraft YouTuber now is just like speedrunners or all that, like people that have like an encyclopedic knowledge of like the game and how to do everything. And I like that simplistic view of just like, I'm just gonna find out what's going on like on my own.
And it's interesting, like how, like as he's progressed, he's learning how to like use. So he's not using wikis or anything like that, but anything in game. So like he got iron or whatever, and he's like, "What's this? Like I achieved a progress thing, like the little like
yeah.
So then he goes to that, and he'll like look at future ones, and it's like craft armor, and he's like, oh, I can make armor. So he is using in-game systems like that, which I think is good, because at this point, the state of the game, like everything they've added, like maybe early game, like when we first played it, you could get away with no information, but like I think you do need some of those like in-game hints, because like how the fuck, like if you didn't have anything to tell you like how to make like a nether portal, how the fuck would you ever think of that? Like, I'm gonna make a rectangle of this weird block and then hit it with a flint and steel. He has not gotten to that point yet.
Right.
He hasn't even figured out how to mine obsidian. He just thinks it's an unbreakable block.
Of course he does. He's not wrong.
Maybe it's like episode 15 or something where he finds out that there's like caves, basically. Like he's just been kind of exploring on the surface, spending time. There is a village near his spawn, so he spent a lot of time in there. And he'll like dig from the from the surface to try to get like dirt or whatever. But then like he just like dropped down into into an already made cave, and he's like this game has an underworld. And so yeah, it's cool. It's a cool different kind of Minecraft Let's Play. I really like it. It's easy to blow through because a lot of the episodes are so short too. So there's like 130-ish episodes now, but a good chunk of them are like sub 10 minutes. So easy to get through. So yeah, watch those and watch My House Walkthrough again. It's completely different, but they're both very good in their own way. And that's basically all I've watched other than Treasure of Sierra Madre this week.
Nice. Well, I too have some video game related things to talk about. I went to go see Existenz last week. Never seen it before. It was kind of a snowy night, and I think it was one of those screenings that was already kind of doomed to have a limited showing. Like it's like later Cronenberg. It's like in between like the heavy hitters of like The Fly and like Scanners, and then right before like A History of Violence and Eastern Promises. I guess it was like ones? I saw A History of Violence like years ago. I've never seen Eastern Promises. I want
really
to.
Good. Yeah,
if it's not really in the cup, throw Eastern Promises in the cup. I probably suggested it because I would love to watch that. So yeah, this is like his last like body horror gross out movie before those ones. And boy howdy, was this one pretty gross to watch. When was the last time you saw Existenz?
I might have been like it's been a while, like high school.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a little after. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I really like the what is real, what is virtual reality element to it. Because the guy that wanted to do the screening, he kind of paired it with The Matrix, which played the week before. Because like, for me, it's like The Matrix, Dark City, and then maybe this are like movies that came out in '99 that are about like questionable realities.
Yeah, it was a pretty popular topic at the time.
Yeah, like pre Y2K, everyone's like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, what if it's fake, man?" But I'm kind of bummed that this one I feel like doesn't really get a ton of recognition outside of maybe like Cronenberg heads, because I thought it was really, really good and weird. I love. I thought it was gonna be corny because the way that it's stylized, like the X and the Z, capital X, capital Z, and it was a little corny listening to like Jennifer Jason Leigh talk about her games, like trying to throw in some like video game terminology. But it's like it's 99, so like the height of like video game graphics, it's like PlayStation 1 and 64, so it's just like I'm just picturing like yeah, my game, you won't even be able to tell what's real and what's not. And then it's like the GoldenEye, like smushed faces, like textures, like wrapped on there. But like when she brings out the video game console, and it's like a fleshy pod with like little like joysticks that are also fleshy on it. And it's just like, oh yeah, we got to plug in to play. And it's like, oh, how do we plug in? Oh, we all have ports in the middle of our backs, and then like they take this like intestine looking shit and like plug it into the back, and then they all but it was also really funny where there's like because like she's like a video game developer, and there's like a faction of like reality purists who are like anti-video game because they think it's anti-reality, and they're like trying to assassinate her. And there's this really good like visual gag where they're like kind of holed up after this assassination attempt, and Jude Law's character's never been ported, so he's untouched. He doesn't have like the hole in his back, and so he's like, "Where are we gonna go? Some country gas station in the middle of the night?" And then literally the next shot, it's a building, it's a gas station, and it says country gas station like on the building. And really, I guess that's your first clue that even that reality, I'm spoiling Existence, that even that reality is not the real reality. Because at the very end of the movie,
I do remember,
at the end of the movie, they all wake up, and Jennifer Jason Leigh and Jude Law were playing another video game made by a different guy.
Familiar.
And like it's not fleshy and gross, which is interesting. So like I guess the fleshy gross video game was like one layer beneath in the game. It's I need a Love Actually chart to follow like the character relationships and what sub level of video game that we're on. But then it's like it's I like that ending where like it turns out Jude Law and Jennifer Jason Leigh are the realists, and they shoot that guy for making the virtual reality.
Okay.
And then at the very end, they go over to this guy who in their video game was like a Chinese waiter that he kills. But do you remember that scene? He's like, you should order the special, and he orders the special, and it's just horrible, gross food. But because he's like a video game character and like to move the story forward, he has to do it. So he starts eating all of this slimy, gross shit. He makes the gun out of like chicken bones, and
that's
he like
right. I remember that. Yeah.
He like pulls his teeth out and he loads a clip of his teeth, and like he like puts it in there, and it even does like the it's got and he like shoots the dude with it.
Holy shit. Okay.
But at the very, very end, that dude that was the Chinese waiter that he shoots in his dream is like a real guy. And like they both point their guns at him. And he's like, "This is real, right? Are we still in the game?" Cuts to black. And I was like, "Whoa! Are we still in the game? Whoa, what's real?" So it was good. I liked it. it's a piece of like late 90s like technology, virtual reality, illusory reality movies that I'd say it's worth the watch. You got young Willem Dafoe. He's pretty good in this. Ian Holm, who is like sprouting up in a shitload of movies that we've been watching lately. Like he's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good. And then we watched Terminator. I don't have much to say about Terminator other than also another really good piece of sci-fi. Really watched it to get to Terminator 2. We were kind of talking about that the other night. So yeah, I kind of had a sci-fi weekend.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll that's one of those that like I have like marked on Letterboxd as like watched, but I don't have it like rated because I'm like I don't remember. I liked it. I remember liking it, but I would have no confidence in a rating for it.
Right.
I have a lot of movies like that I've watched. I have a memory of it, and I remember scenes like that, but I don't remember the overall take or whatever. That's cool. I generally like Cronenberg too, so
yeah,
definitely put it on the list of eventual rewatch or whatever. I did watch it's listed as a body horror. I would kind of put it in there, but one of the movies I did watch this week was Titan, that French movie.
Oh yeah, I did want to see that.
Ago. Yeah, it was interesting. It was cool. There's she gets like impregnated by a car or whatever, and
cool.
That's where most of the body horror is, like her like pregnancy from that, and like you don't see a lot, but like like it's weird. I was like laughing at it, but also like, yeah, sweet, I'm into this. This is great. Like she like, you know, like she'd have, you know, issue like her water would break and it was oil, like car oil. Like that's fucking awesome. Or like no, she was lactating. That was it, and it was like black like oil, that she was lactating, and it was good. But it's also like exploring like this like relationship between her and this like older guy that kind of takes her in, and it's good. It's a different kind of movie. I think hearing that it was body horror, I was hoping for a little more like craziness, and there's some of it. There is body horror elements. I just don't know if I would like put that as like a main genre for it.
Yeah, you're talking about like she has sex with a car or whatever. That sounds like Crash. I haven't seen it, but right. I know that's like they get thrilled by car accidents or something along those lines.
Yeah. Even that's like a little more. There was like part of me where like while it was happening, I was like I want to see more. Like, come on, I want.
Don't pull the punch.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, well, yeah, like I don't want. It's not like I like want him to show penetration, but I'm like I want to see something like do a close up of like the emergency brake or like the transition stick, like, you know, kind of coming out of it. Like I want to, you know, allude to something more happening, and
I want to see this car bust.
Yeah.
She's like having sex with a car, and then like the windshield wiper fluid starts spraying all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's cum. Gross.
Yeah. That scene also was another one where I was laughing at it, but also like this is great. Laughing at and with. I feel like it's got to be somewhat like tongue in cheek. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Like I kind of said earlier, like I watched some good movies, but I don't have a ton to say about them. It was a solid flick.
Yeah.
See, overall, this is a pretty solid month. I feel like the last couple months there's been kind of like we've had like a clunker somewhere in there, aside from the dud. But this month overall was pretty good.
Yeah. I made my first list on Letterboxd.
Oh, you did?
It's just stuff I saw in 2024.
Oh, okay.
So it's like Saltburn, The Celebration, Poor Things, Beau is Afraid, Existence, Terminator, and now The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Nice.
I'm trying to keep track better of like first. I guess it's not even like first watches, but just everything that I've watched in a given year. I think it's nice. It's cool to see that list.
Yeah. No, that's I do. Well, I do mine just for first watches, but I've done that since like I had Letterboxd. Usually just for first watches, it's around like 100 by the end of the year. But last year, since I was watching one every day, it was 300. 300 new watches.
Oof.
Which is good. I mean, that was kind of the idea with it, but it was a lot. There's some people. There's a guy that I'm like mutual follows with on there, and he's tried to do it the last few years. I don't, check every review from everybody, but I'll kind of check in on his. So I don't know how far he's gotten, but he's trying to do 1,000. Yeah, and he said he's tried it the last few years and gives up after a little while. I'm like, yeah, dude, that's fucking crazy. That is more. Your average is like, more than 3 a day.
Yeah, you don't have time. There's not unless you're like independently wealthy and like don't have to work. That's the only way you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'd max out it. Like if I really, really wanted to challenge myself and I didn't have any other like things going on, like 500 is the most I would ever try. Because 365 that last year was tough.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
speaking of things that might be tough,
yeah,
we are on it's been like
a great month.
4 episodes, no duds.
Yeah, and on top of that, I don't know when the last one we pulled from the actual Dud Cup was, because last month was our Christmas one. The one before was
we have a Halloween
timeline. No, it was timeline. Yeah. So that was a guest one. Our Halloween one, it was a pick. It was Dreamcatcher. So I think our last cup pull was September, which may have been like 2025 or something.
Oh wow,
something like that.
Holy shit!
Yeah, so good old Dead Cup. Coming back to the well. What do we got here? Oh fuck yeah, dude! I'm so fucking bummed.
Okay. What do we got?
From 2013, directed by Vince Offer. We're gonna watch Inappropriate Comedy.
God damn it! No.
Fuck yes, dude. This is a good pairing with. I remember I don't know why, but I remember last year's January dud was Disaster Movie, and this feels like a good kind of continuation. So it's very, very in line with that.
Man,
fuck yeah, dude.
Oh, it's directed by the ShamWow guy.
Yeah, Vince Offer. I didn't know if you knew his name, so if that was gonna like give it away.
Oh. Well, when we did Vampire's Kiss, you guys were watching it.
Yes.
At Connor's place.
Yeah,
the
Connor
only thing
could not finish it. He like repeatedly was like, "We need to turn this off." So I did. Yeah, I watched like the first like half hour of this, maybe 20 minutes. So yeah, man. Theo Von, Ari Shaffir's in this. Yeah, the only thing I know, like a lot of recognizable faces.
The only thing I know is the Adrian Brody. I've seen like the screen grab of him saying like, "Go ahead, make me gay."
It's so good. Like that's legitimately like
that's like a classic Cumtown bit.
It's like if it was in like Cumtown, right? It would be hilarious. It's like this movie God, like out of context, it's great. It's really good. But it is like because it's in this movie, it's like, there's no, like, he wrote that because he thought that was funny and a good joke, and it's like, it's not, but also it's really funny. So
Great.
yeah, hell yeah. Continuing our month of pretty solid movies then. Yeah, Adrian Brody, credited as Flirty Harry.
Flirty Harry.
Yeah, so if you don't want to be spoiled for Inappropriate Comedy, you can watch it on Tubi, Plex, Roku channel. It's free on all of those. But I mean, support the filmmaker. You can rent it on Amazon or Apple TV.
It's definitely worth your $2.99.
$3.99 actually.
Oh,
You gotta
wow.
pay the big bucks for that.
Excuse me.
Yeah, watch it at one of those if you don't want to be spoiled or whatever for this 1% Metacritic movie. These episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on I'm sitting on YouTube and Twitch in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So give us a like, follow, comment on the YouTube.
Yes.
Whatnot. We got other stuff that we're posting on there here and there. So check out the YouTube channel some more, please do. And with all that said, I am your future murderer, just asking for some money. Meaning child actor Robert Blake, TJ, and no, with me as always.
As always, when we get back to town, I'll get you your money. We'll be fair and square. I just gotta go to the bank. Just gotta go to the bank, and then we can meet at the bar, have a couple beers, and
Totally.
yeah, it'll all be good. And I am Nick.
And we don't gotta show you no stinking badges.
No stinking badges.